Hi, welcome back to F8 Live. It's the second day of F8 2015. My name is Simon Cross. I'm a product manager here on the platform team at Facebook. So yesterday, Mark got up on stage and talked about a bunch of the kind of new products we're shipping at this year's F8. And then this morning, Mike Schroepfer, who's our CTO, got up on stage and did a keynote which he kind of introed as the future, or about the future. And I'm delighted that he's joining me here in the F8 Live studio. Hey, Mike.
Hey, happy to be here.
Thanks for joining us.
You bet.
So I stood at the back of the kind of keynote auditorium this morning and waited for people to file out to kind of listen into what they were saying. And like 3 separate people walked past me and I heard the word inspiring, which is pretty cool. So for those who missed the keynote, could you just kind of recap the key themes?
Yeah, I was trying to sketch out the 10-year vision of where Facebook is going and what we're investing in to kind of get this vision of an open and connected world. And it's really in 3 main areas. The first is planetary connectivity. So that's building services that scale, not to hundreds or billions of users, but the entire planet, and connecting those online, the billions of people who are not on the internet together. So that's planetary connectivity. Then the second is building systems that really understand data and context in a deep way, such that we can help everyone manage the huge flow of information online. As everyone gets online, there's so much more data out there. We want to make sure you spend every minute you can on the stuff you care about. And then third is really the promise of VR. And that's via Oculus and Facebook together, trying to create technology that can really transport you to a time and place. So those magic moments from birthdays to the kids growing up can be shared with everyone you care about, even if they couldn't physically be there in the moment.
Yeah, those are some pretty big problems, and it's kind of interesting to see the thinking on that time horizon.
Yeah.
One of the key points when you're talking about global connectivity is the benefits of scale in infrastructure, and how important that is to kind of running a business of that size.
Yeah.
Can you talk a bit more about how important that is?
Yeah, well, I talked in the keynote in our work at multiple layers of the stack, and the foundation from data centers and physical infrastructure to runtimes like HHVM, which is 10x more efficient than the prior runtime we were using, to React and React Native now that we open source today. That building this hardware and software stack that's super efficient from a cost perspective and super efficient from a developer perspective is really the thing that allows us to scale to billions and billions of people on the planet. And the cool thing about all these things is they're all open. From the hardware to HHVM, which is run on Wikipedia and Box.com, to React, which is used by tons of people, Airbnb and Netflix and others. And so they can work with us together to build these technologies that everyone can use to build services that scale to the whole planet.
So taking the thing you just mentioned, React Native.
Yeah.
So we launched, Facebook launched React.js about a year ago, I think.
Yeah.
Open sourced that. And today you've announced the open sourcing of React Native. Why is React Native so important for developers?
Well, I think we've been struggling for almost forever on how to build user interfaces and product experiences that are really fast and reliable, and how to scale up that development to large development teams. And React is the culmination of many, many attempts by the Facebook team to build a system that is both technology and kind of a way of thinking about how to build applications that makes it super easy to build these products that have this great kind of interactivity, feel, and reliability to them. And React Native takes all those concepts from the web and allows you to build, right now, iOS apps and very soon Android apps. And if you're not a developer, it's hard to get a sense of how significant this is. But if you are a developer, everyone that I've encountered that has worked with React is like, this is the thing that everyone is excited about, because it just makes building these applications so much easier and so much more fun.
Yeah, I've noticed, just walking around, a lot of people are talking about it.
It's awesome.
And starting to kind of play with the code and see what they can build.
It's like one of the things I've been most excited for a very long time.
Awesome. One of the other things you talked about was artificial intelligence. Why is Facebook involved in artificial intelligence?
Yeah, that's the first question I get is like, I joked in my keynote, the first question is like, why is this stuff so hard? I don't get why computers just can't understand things. And the second question is, okay, neat, like you showed me some demos, but what does this have to do with Facebook? And I think it really is, if we achieve this first goal of connecting everyone on the world, you create the second problem, which is there's so much information online, and really the amount of hours you have in the day is fixed, And so what we want to do is build systems that really understands what's in your newsfeed, what your friends are sharing, so you can make really informed decisions about, hey, can you show me more of this stuff and less of this stuff, and make sure that every minute I spend, I'm consuming the stuff I care about, and most importantly, spending time with the people I care about. And the more we can build systems to help you with that, the better I think people will be.
So it's funny, one of the things you talked through in your keynote is some of the problems that computers are trying to solve. And we as humans look at them and they're like, well, that's just trivial.
Yeah.
So why is it so hard for computers to solve those problems?
Well, I think it's just computers think about the world in a fundamentally different way. The example I used in my keynote is, if you just look at a picture, and I had a picture of a dog on the screen, that even young children can tell you what that is, but to a computer that's just like a sequence of numbers, pixels that represent each little dot in that dog. And a dog looks kind of the same as a building or a person or a plant. It's just like it's almost like you're looking at something way too zoomed up is how the computer thinks of things. And so what we're trying to do is to teach computers to build higher level understandings of these things. So they build up different parts of it, and they understand this is an edge in the image, and so this part is different than the background. And then they understand, oh, that's a person, and then that's a face. And to build these higher level understandings in a way that they don't naturally do.
Sweet. And so the kind of third theme of your keynote was, immersive experiences, which is really, I guess, about VR.
Yeah.
So, again, similarly to AI, a bunch of people are like, well, they can't necessarily directly connect, right? Like what Facebook is today.
Yeah.
With like a VR experience,
yeah.
right? The delta just isn't like a natural jump for people.
Yeah, I think this is so exciting, though. I mean, if you really distill down all the technology we're trying to do at Facebook, it really is like, it's about creating these moments where you bring people together. I used the example in the talk of my birthday, and that moment on Facebook you have when it's like no matter where people are in the world or when you met them in your life, they could all come together and share in that moment and be there and watch the video of me blowing out the birthday cake. And then you fast forward a bit to the future where the real goal of VR and Oculus is what we call the sense of presence. That by putting on this device, it really does feel like I have been teleported to another place or a time. And then you put these two things together and say, like, okay, we've got this technology that can make me feel like I'm really there, coupled to the platform that people share their lives together with. And then what you have is in these moments of life, you can share them with everyone you care about, and they can actually feel like they were there in that moment with you and share and learn together. And creating those shared experiences and memories is kind of what life is about. And I think this is a chance for technology to really break down geography in a way that's never happened before.
Sweet. I mean, we've kind of reached this point in technology where many curves have overlapped and it's kind of possible to a reasonable level now.
Yeah.
What do you think is the hardest problem left in VR?
How much time do you have? I mean, this is so. The
2 minutes.
One thing I want to say is like all of this stuff we're talking about the future, and I'm showing. I showed a lot of raw demos, stuff right off people's dev servers from last week, and so I'm really excited about the promise of all of this. But it's going to take us years and decades to achieve all of this, and that's actually part of the fun. It's like there's a lot more to be done. And in VR, it's not one problem. It's a summation of a lot of problems that all have to work. Just to get where we are today with this kind of what we think of as a minimum bar for presence in Crescent Bay, the latest Oculus prototype, you had to solve latency problems and get screens that have high enough refresh rate, low enough persistence on the screen. You have to do 6-degree of freedom tracking. So as I move my head around, the virtual world moves as a real world. Because if there's a single stutter in there, it completely breaks the illusion. It's like, whoa, what? The world just like stopped for a second. What the heck happened? And it's over. The experience is over. And so you can't drop a single frame at 90 hertz, which is very hard.
Yes.
And you have to have graphics rendering engines that can render things that are truly realistic. I showed Battlezone from the 80s and vector green screen graphics, and then eValkyrie that's under development now, and it's incredible. And so you kind of need a minimum for all of these technologies, and it just is getting to the basics of presence, and I think there's a lot more to do from here.
Awesome. Last question. One of the things that you kind of see across our kind of data center infrastructure, our runtime environments, and front-end languages is we've open sourced most of this stuff.
Yeah.
Not every company kind of does that.
Yeah.
So why is it so important to Facebook?
Well, I think it's truly unique. I can't actually think of another company where you can build clones of their data centers and servers. You can run the same runtime they do in their production environment. You can use the same application software they use. I mean, we have 244 open source or 240 plus open source projects. 1,000 people have contributed to them. 10 million lines of code. And the vast, vast majority of this is software we're running in our data centers. These aren't toy projects. So it's like we're sharing the real stuff. And the thesis on this is simple. It's like, look, this is foundational technology that we want not just us, but everyone else to build. And by working together, we can actually go faster. And so we've seen in Open Compute, you have HP and Juniper and Cisco and all these people contributing IP and technology. HHVM, you have people contributing code and other things. And together we make this a better environment for everyone. And we're seeing this even with AI, where the core training framework we're using is called Torch. And we're working with the community on that. So by working with others, we can build this better together.
Awesome. Thanks very much, Mike,
Yeah,
for joining us.
it was awesome.
It's been
It was
great
fun.
to chat.
Thank you.
Guys, thank you very much for joining us on the live stream here on F8 Live. There's a bunch more sessions to come today, and please stay with us and enjoy those. Thank you.
Awesome.